At this point, it's easier to give you a list of what the Amazing World of Gumball hasn't done than has. It's made you laugh, think, be grossed out, reference games, gave you lore, hid secrets in plain sight, amazed you, and offended you. But one aspect I don't think we've covered enough is when the episode wants to be emotional. Because we got ourselves one of the most requested episodes on this Search for the Best series, and let's figure out why together. Have you ever really sat back and thought about the choices that led up to this moment? The idea that with one small change in the past that could have dramatically had a different outcome to this day? Do you contemplate that you've made the right choices or that you make the best choices in your situation? Maybe you've made some bad choices and stay up at night figuring out what you could have done differently to be in a better place. Maybe you get the news that a choice that you could have made before would have landed you in the hospital, or worse, and now you're happy that you dodged that bullet.
It was a day like any other. By which I mean just as terrible as the rest. All I wanted was for us to behave like a normal, civilized family at mealtimes. I might as well have wished for it to rain pancakes.
The Watterson family is not exactly known for being well behaved. We have countless episodes where had they slept in that day, Elmore would not be as chaotic as it usually is, with a lot of the family's dysfunction being a selling point to a lot of people watching. With that said, one of the normal dynamics of the family is that Nicole wishes to push forward and bring her family to the competitive spirit that she's at, if not for them to have a better quality of life that she's always wanted for them. And at best, maybe only Anais gets that, but not in this episode. It doesn't help that she pretty much looks after Richard as well, who is one half of the reason for Gumball and Anais, and technically the person who adopted Darwin. The family are at their most feral, literally banging on the table for food. That just so happens to now have caught on fire, after Nicole took her eyes off of it for 1 second.
Don't panic! In case of fire, you should stop, drop, and roll! It's getting worse! I got this!
So let's talk about The Limit. The Limit is a season 2 episode of Gumball where the family essentially drags their feet and makes what would have been a simple shopping trip turn into Gumball, Darwin, Anais, and later Richard bugging Nicole to the point where she gets pushed over the limit, nearly turning them all into chicken nuggets, but soon realizing that her being angry over a shopping trip isn't worth what she was thinking of doing to them. It was a very good episode that dealt with the same topic. This episode is basically that episode, just instead of funny, it's introspective.
That was the moment I asked myself, how did it come to this? Where did I go wrong? That's it. It was the day I met him.
Similar to The Worst, the episode structure is a lot more about memories than it is about any active action that they're doing within the present tense of this episode, which isn't bad at all. As a person who loves the lore we've gotten from the Amazing World of Gumball, more lore is good. She recalls the day that she met Richard. It was the day she was scheduled to be at a tournament. Now, while I've covered the parents in my Search for the Worst series, I do want to say that while I don't like that episode, I do like the idea of Nicole having strict parents, thus feeding into her natural instinct of being competitive, especially when it clashes against Richard's... well, if you remember, he overtook Lazy Larry in the summer of '83, so that should tell you everything.
Nicole, we need to talk about your report card.
But I got straight A's.
Not here. Gender.
Yeah, F because I'm female.
Being a girl is not an excuse.
That is true. Being a girl is not an excuse. These are the same parents that named their child Doctor, by the way, within the parents. And let's stay there for a second. A lot of that episode was Nicole and her parents fighting, figuring out where it all went wrong. Now, as I say in my video, it's clear as day where it went wrong, and I don't buy the premise that it was this unclear origin, but it established that Nicole was estranged from her parents for a very long time, and a part of that is because of moments like this, where they optimize their child to the detriment of any emotional bond. Whether that is because they lack an emotional foundation themselves, or they figured that this was just the best for Nicole, we don't know. After Nicole's father punches the engine of the car, good job dad, Nicole is forced to run to the tournament.
Well, it took all day, but I got the job done.
Alright, whoa, wait. Are we not supposed to think of the grass? Because I'm thinking about the grass. I guess children don't walk in the grass anymore. This episode takes different paths and different options that Nicole previously didn't take and examines their outcomes. The first being this fresh cement blocking the pathway, the second being a young Banana Bob offering to play a song for Nicole, the third being a young Harold, Tobias' father by the way, hitting on Nicole, the fourth being a young Mr. Small, offering hugs, not prescription drugs, the fifth being a subtle butterfly, and the sixth and last being a ride from a young Sal left dumb. Dolphin Man, and Spray Paint Bottle. I'm not really sure about these names, I kinda looked them up on the wiki. Nicole deterred from her path 6 times to meet up with Richard, and technically she could have knocked into any of those baby carriages earlier, but that's way too much for this show, so let's kinda go through all the safe ones.
Well, it took all day. Hajime!
Thank heavens she's gone.
Now, to be fair, I would have picked that path. I'm in for a good time, not a long time. And becoming a CEO, president, world leader sounds amazing. Going through these, it is amazing to see these younger variants of these characters that we've grown accustomed to seeing. In a similar vein to the Inquisition, which is still the last episode of the series, so it's still a bad finale, we see so many recognizable characters shift into other canon variants that look so cool, because the art style was made for that. Honestly, even though I probably wouldn't change how the seasons were formatted beyond obviously putting the future as the season 6 premiere rather than Arrival, for reasons explained in that video, having tiny blips of history like this really makes you value what little we've seen because there's still a lot that's unexplained. Obviously she doesn't take that path because the world was not ready for peak Nicole. So what would have happened if she listened to that Banana Bob song? Well, they get married, of course.
Nicole, are you okay?
Does this not make you think of the psyche of Banana Bob and Banana Barbara? The latter actually used to be someone who was level-headed until she was pushed past her limit at her old job, ironically. But Banana Bob? It kind of seems like he's always been this way, and Banana Joe takes after them both oddly, at least Banana Barbara before her meltdown. Also, googly-eyed Nicole is hilarious. And ugly. Thank you. And never show that to me again. Let's talk about Harold.
Okay, what do you want?
Have you lost weight? Your head looks bigger.
What?
Nothing, I just wanted to say I like girls with really short legs.
What's wrong with my legs? Wait, are you doing that creepy thing where guys criticize girls to lower their confidence so they'll go out with them?
You're way too intelligent for that kind of trick. Your parents don't love you. You look better with the veil on.
So, Harold is toxic within this episode, and it's amazing because like with Banana Bob, you can kind of see where Tobias gets it from. Harold's personality has kind of flip-flopped throughout the show. I remember the castle from season 2 where all he did was poke people and be eccentric, and here he's incredibly full of himself. And granted, this is a younger version of him, but it does make me wonder because there's also the Cycle, a season 5 episode, where he's not just bullying Richard but replaced his wife. This man might be the most toxic person in Elmore.
So, how do you like the sushi? It took me hours.
It's cold.
Let me heat it up for you.
Is that hot enough for you? Is it hot enough?
She describes this possibility as almost worth it. I still prefer choice 1. Outside of what is to come, this is a highlight of this episode that almost makes me feel bad for Tobias growing up in this environment. Almost. That'd be a cool arc for him to kind of semi-grow out of it at some point. That's kind of the high point of these 6 choices because the next 3 kind of follows a rule of threes joke.
Hey there, have you ever considered using the power of hugs as an alternative to modern medicine?
Between this, Nicole choking on a butterfly, and Nicole taking Sal on his offer to get a ride to the tournament, they all end in death. One can question why Nicole wasn't paused while contemplating the butterfly, but I suppose like the grass, you're not supposed to think about it. Getting to the point, the episode pretty much makes it clear that Richard was the best of a situation that didn't have any better outcome. Now, what I think makes this episode turn from kind of a grim outcome to a heartwarming outcome is that they don't leave it on that note, even though that is the truth. And it made me curious. I'd love to see another show or another story take this episode's concept where other choices actually weren't the worst and it was just subjective things that made that person not want to go down that path. To turn this grim reality into a heartwarming story, they introduce Kid Richard.
Okay, I've got to run now.
Why?
To compete.
Why?
'Cause I have to fight.
Why?
Because I have to be the best.
Why?
So people will like me?
But lots of people already like you.
Really? Like who?
Richard, channeling his inner Eduardo from that one episode of Foster's Home where Wilt tried to stand up for himself, demonstrates to Nicole
Why?
she kind of already has what she wants if she looks at it from another perspective. It's a very wholesome way to look at it, and as we know, Nicole doesn't exactly give up on her passions, but instead shifts exactly
Why?
she does them. Also, you don't have to play that clip anymore.
Why?
Ugh, I don't get paid enough for this.
What would you do if you were me?
If I had done everything you've done, sleep till I'm 40.
I mean, what should I do with my life?
Maybe start living it?
What a great line. They tell the story of Nicole letting go of all the stress put on her by herself and her parents and having a great day at the park that she'll remember forever. I'm sure Nicole has won plenty of things up to this point, but what is she winning it for? It's something that I can relate to with this channel and finding out my own why. That really snuck up and punched me in the back of my head, which I'll let you guys in on next year because it's nowhere near ready yet. Clearly she remembers this day at the park like it was yesterday. But they go further, showing Richard's attempts to spend time with Nicole with the approval of her family, which, what an outfit. Richard ain't skating on nothing except the poverty line. They almost share a first kiss and instead share a first car accident. Richard and Nicole leave their home and are forced to figure out life together, as crazy, unpredictable, and unforgiving as it is. They expect their first child, Gumball. Show their wedding, which Nicole's parents didn't attend, with that reason being explained within the parents. Gumball's birth, their eventual purchase of the Wattersons' home, first steps, and even some Mr. Robinson torture to really show why Gaylord doesn't like any of these guys. By the way, I hope this is not the first time that you're learning of Mr. Robinson's first name. There's also Darwin, Anais, and just a lot of great memories over this nostalgic filter. An incredible piano piece, where when you zoom out from one bad dinner, it's actually been an incredible experience so far. This episode really is all about scope, and it's something that's really hard to teach other people. This idea that there's a difference between a bad day and a bad day. And a lot of times it's the former, which is not ideal, but in the grand scheme, if you have the intent on being on the right path, it will work out in your favor in the long run. It's a lesson that even I'm still learning to this day.
Actually, you know what? I wouldn't change a thing.
Oh no, little man. This is a food war!
What originally started out as a bad day turned into a grim reality and ended with an amazing, wholesome, and heartwarming experience that you probably wouldn't have expected from this show if you were watching it from the beginning like me. I guess I see why this is number one for a lot of people, and the most I'll say is, most likely it'll be in the top 15 for me. However, there's one slot left, and I've been waiting to speak about this episode for a long time. In the meantime, you should get caught up by watching the game, and until next time, take care. Alpha out.